Welcome back, Lumineers. So today I thought we'd go over some of the recently um, previewed cards for the Rise of the Floodborn set. Um, I will link in the description the first news that we had in the 13 card video that I did on that one. This is a smaller batch. I try to do it for speed reasons. The other video was kind of long for 13 cards. So this first one is the first card, the second card that we've seen with Winnie the Pooh on it, showing the iconic. He's stuck in Rabbit's house, and Rabbit's trying to push him out. So this is a one-cost inkable amethyst um, action card. I'm stuck. Chosen exerted character can't ready at the start of their next turn, and it is a common. So it's a basic is the ability on Anna from the first chapter, or the lock ability of the legendary Elsa. Now, right now, actions are if the actions either have to be spectacular or they pretty well have to be a song to be included. Most of the things that decks are including are cards that stay in play, either characters or items. Um, Now, will there be a deck? Um, the obvious missing piece is decks that want a bunch of removal, like Fire the Cannons and uh, Smash, Dragonfire, those type of things. This locks down a character for an extra turn, and with it being a surprise, it might be good. But as of right now, I'm holding judgment. It's fine. Um, we'll see what else we have in the set. Next up is a one-costed Flynn Rider Confident Vanguard, 1/3, 1 lower, Storyborn Hero Prince, and is a common. Um, so now we have a one-cost Flynn Rider and a two-cost Flynn Rider. Obviously, the two-cost Flynn Rider is much better because he has both an ability and two lore. Now, what is interesting here is um, you see the artwork here for Flynn Rider on one of these posters, and then you see artwork for a different version. So that may be a sign that we're getting a Floodborn Flynn Rider in the set, which in that case, you'd have two separate Flynn Riders to be able to shift onto. Again, it fits the Snowman one cost, 1/3, 1 lower that we got in set 1. So there will be some metas that will want this and some that won't. Either way, interesting that we're getting at least some telltale signs of other versions. This one was just spoiled today during the emergency broadcast. Wake Post lunchtime wake me up buzzer happened on your phones. This is Panic Underworld Imp, a 3 cost uninkable 2/3 with 2 lore, Storyborn ally. I can handle it. When you play this character, chosen character gets +2 strength this turn. If the chosen character is named Pain, he gets +4 strength instead, and is a common. Um, Being uninkable is not fun. Um, his stats are a little low for a 3 coster, but there aren't many 3 costers that have 2 lore. And this gives you a way to um, play a character, buff a character, and then challenge a character off the table. Um, Now, 3 3 is an interesting spot for Emerald because you already have Cheshire Cat, you already have Jasper. Um, so this one's going to get interesting. I'm more interested about seeing what color paint is in. Our third Emerald card in a row, we have Bounce. This is a 2-cost uninkable action. Return chosen character of yours to your hand to return another chosen character to their player's hand. And it is an uncommon. So we've seen in the last video the Merlin that does several things with bounce, as cards are bounced. And so this is, I guess, one of those cards to help that archetype, but also this is a good way to reuse your interplay triggers. You know, bouncing the beast that's destroys items, or bouncing a genie on the job so you can bounce something else next turn. And then you have the choice. You can target one of your other characters and bounce them. So if you have multiple interplay triggers, you can get those, or you can bounce your opponent's character. So it's designed to set them back. Uninkable and Not Being a Song are going to be interesting caveats to go around, but there's definitely some interest with this card. Also, second artwork with Tigger, first artwork with Rue. This one was just spoiled yesterday and is a part of the organized play kit, which is the last item that we'll talk about. This is a 4-costed rare Minnie Mouse Wide-Eyed Diver, 2/3, 1 lore, Floodborn hero, Shift 2, Evasive, and Undersea Adventure. When you play a second action in a turn, this character gets +2 lore this turn. Alright, so we have a 1-cost mini in set 1. That's the Snowman type, the 1-cost 1/3 with 1 lore. So you can shift into this on turn 2. Where that problem lies is you'll not be able to trigger the secondary ability. What it will do is give you an evasive character, which is very interesting. Now, how many times per game is the bottom ability going to trigger? That's where the question lies. Right now we have a very good Mickey Mouse Artful Rogue that keeps people from questing every time you play an action. And now we have a Minnie Mouse that cares about actions that gives her additional lore. So they're obviously building toward an archetype. The question is, how far down the road are we going to get before this? Again, this is a card to keep your eye on for future sets. I don't think that, so what we've seen so far, I don't think it's there yet. Now, the good news is, if you're playing a deck that likes to play songs, there is a very good possibility you can play multiple songs in a turn and thus trigger her ability. So now we have our first Cogsworth, Grandfather Clock, 5-costed inkable, 2/5, 2 lore, is a Floodborn ally, has Shift of 3, has Ward, and the ability Unwind. Your other characters gain Resist +1, and is a super rare. So there are many things to like about this Cogsworth. Not very good offensively, has a huge amount of willpower. 2 lore, has built-in ward. shifts for 3. We haven't seen another Cogsworth yet. More on that in a minute. But giving your other characters resist 1 is absolutely a beating. This is the 3rd card we've seen with resist so far. This is the first one outside of steel. So if this is going to be a trend moving forward, steel and combat-oriented control decks are going to suffer from these type effects. I mean, pretty well shuts down Giant Tink. Okay, you'll do 1 at Cogsworth. Okay, if Cogsworth is not, because it does 1 to everybody. If Cogsworth can't be targeted with ward, so you can't take has ward, can't be another character can't be attacked and the damage be dealt to him, and if it's dealt to something else, it's only going to deal 1 damage. So again, another card to keep your eye out on. This is very much looking forward to moving into I can't be dragon fired, and I'm going to be hard to get off the table through combat and other effects. Obviously, 2 Cogsworth means that each of your characters has resist 2, except for your Cogsworth, which has resist 1. Anyway, moving on. Alright, speaking of Cogsworth, we have Cogsworth, Talking Clock, 2 cost inkable, 2/3, 1 lore, Storyborn ally. Wait a minute. Your characters with Reckless gain Exert, gain 1 lore. Uncommon. So, interestingly enough, he slows down things for his super rare version, and he slows down things for your Reckless characters. Now, I like the fact that right now our base Reckless characters don't produce any lore because you can't ever use them for that. But this gives them a way to go, no, I'm not going to challenge because I ain't about that. I'm going to exert and gain lore. Which is actually fantastic. This also messes with cards like John Silver and Iago, and we've got a Ruby Captain Hook that does stuff that is forcing you to come challenge. The beast is mine, and other things. So this is a way to get around that, which I think is very cool. And being 2 costed, if you have to, you can go 2 into our 5-drop on the next turn. Moving on, 3 cost inkable, the Prince, Never Give Up. It's a 1/3, has 2 lore, Dreamborn Hero Prince, Bodyguard, resist +1. Okay, 4th card with resist, 3rd in steel. And this is a banger uncommon. Being a 1/3 is a pain because he's not dealing much back, and he's going to absorb at least 4. Right? It's going to take at least 4 to banish him. Being a bodyguard, you want to exert him when you want to protect characters. So guess what? 2 lore. That is a fantastic uncommon. Yeah, the resist keyword is really going to mess up numbers with steel and combat-oriented decks. So I'm going to like getting to play with some of these. It's going to mess up a lot of math. Next up is Mulan Soldier in Training. It's a 4-cost uninkable 4/3 with 1 lore. Storyborn Hero Princess. has Rush and is a common. Okay, so Ruby and Amethyst so far has most of the Rush characters. The exception being the legendary beast in Emerald, if I remember correctly. Our problem here is Mulan's stats. So she, in Ruby, we have a 3-2 for 3 Peter Pan that has Rush. You have a Mulan, it's a 4 cost 4-3 with Rush. And then you have Maui, that's a 5 costed 6-5 with Rush and Reckless. So, and then if you look at Amethyst, you have Zeus that's a 4 costed 0-4 with Rush and Challenger 4. So it's basically a 4-4 on attack with 0-4 otherwise. And then Rafiki that's a 3-3 for 3 with Rush. So Rafiki and Mulan die to the same things. Mulan can challenge into characters that that Rafiki can't by default, and does have some princess synergies. So I wouldn't completely write off this common currently, but again, current meta versus stats, this might be better in some environments or worse in some environments. I also hate to waste such good art. All right, the last of our full spoilers, and then I'll show you the cards from the OP kit, organized play kit number 2, is Hypnotize, a 3-cost inkable action. Each opponent chooses and discards a card. Draw a card, and is a common. So raw from the Jungle Book. So this is the first card with Jungle Book art on it that we've seen. There have been some decks that are playing cards to force your opponent to discard cards. Typically, the ones that I've seen, other than Flynn Rider and is the ones that are running You Have Forgotten Me. But that's a 4-costed, makes your opponent discard 2 cards. This, again, designed for has got multiplayer templating, but a 3-costed discard force them to discard a card, and you draw a card. So you're replacing. So it costs you 1 card. You draw a card, so that's a net of 0. Your opponent discards a card, so it's a net of 1 for 3 ink. Where does this fall at the meta? That's a good question. I like cards that replace themselves. I like cards that mess with my opponent's plans. Especially as you get later in the game and folks are top decking, their hands empty, and they're only drawing 1 card a turn. Less good against Ruby Amethyst. Now, put this on a character. Now we're talking. Alright, so let me hide this and let me bring up the organized play kit. So this is the organized play cards for set 2. Rise of the Floodborn. We've already seen Minnie Mouse. We know she's a rare. We already have those. Let's go over the one that we can read. So we got Cinderella, Knight in Training, 2-cost, inkable, 2-2, Dreamboard Hero, Prince, Knight. When you it has one lore, it is inverted, and it's just because it's foiled. That's not a misprint. When you play this card, you may draw a card, then choose and discard a card. So it's costs one more, has one more strength, does the same thing as the one cost Simba. Um, better filter, more filtering is okay. If this is going to be played, in my opinion, it's going to take up a specific slot in a deck um, where with Princess synergies, Knight synergies, or Cinderella synergies. So in this case, you now have a steel Cinderella at 2 that you can shift um, the 7-drop Cinderella on. Um, that gives us, currently there's only, the other Cinderella is the 4 cost 1 amber. Um, these other two are much more difficult because some of the card text is uh, ex, you know, removed, but we have a Robin Hood that costs 2 and has an ability that is exert deal 1 damage to something character. So we have a um, what we call um, a pinger, one that pings damage. Now with the resist mechanic in the set, don't know how relevant this is going to be. Um, with newer cards, anything with resist is going to make this so sad. Um, against cards that don't have resist, though, this is going to be a nice way to um, finish off a card that you normally couldn't. And you are putting him in harm's way by doing so, but I digress. And then we have an inkable Bucky with Ward and an ability that says whenever you play a Floodborn, each opponent chooses and discards, and I assume it's a card, and I assume it's when you play a Floodborn character, but obviously we don't know. That thing's going to be annoying as all get out if that is the case, because this is a set about Floodborns, and I get to constantly attack your hand with a Bucky on the table. If you have multiple Buckies on the table, I don't want to even think about how painful it's going to be to deal with that. Um, this may be a way to deal with the Ruby Amethyst, control decks. Because he has ward, I can't be single targeted. If I'm ready, I can't be challenged normally. New Cinderella notwithstanding. And so I've got to use a sweep mechanic. And if you have some way to give him resist, oh boy, this is going to go through a nosedive. All right, guys, that's all we've got today. I guys just caught up with all the spoilers from the first video and through today. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, no matter the game, there is no escape from the tiger.